So it is. Oh, man. Good morning. Good morning. So, Palm Sunday. I'm sure you've heard the story about Jesus the Christ and his entry into Jerusalem, but there are a few things that I want to weave in and show relevance to how this story is your story. That's right. I believe that all story, all allegory, all metaphor is a universal foundation that shows our commonality. And so that which was Jesus the Christ and his entry into Jerusalem is also your story. So let's back up to what happened the day before. So in theology, we learn all about the traditions of Holy Week, and what we know is that uh, Jesus the Christ, the day before, had participated, had created the act of raising Lazarus from the dead. If you're not familiar with that story, Lazarus was a dear family friend who had passed away, and his family was overwrought and obviously in mourning and sad over his death. And they had come to Jesus, or they had sent a messenger days before to let him know what had happened. And it took a while for Jesus to get to Lazarus' tomb. But as he stood there, something really powerful is demonstrated in the translations that we are most familiar with in Scripture, and it was a declarative statement. What do I mean by declarative statement? It wasn't a statement of asking. It wasn't anything that was beseeching in nature. It was declarative, meaning that it was a commandment. It was an announcement. And that declarative statement that came from Jesus towards Lazarus, who was pronounced dead in his tomb, was simply this: Lazarus, rise. Lazarus, rise. And if you were raised in Judeo Christian teachings, you will know that Lazarus rose from the dead, and the family was surprised, and there was great rejoicing. And so it's almost as if you take the whole context of Holy Week, that this master teacher, Jesus, was giving us a taste or an example of what it means to overcome death, that life is eternal. And so he was starting this showcase, this example, this embodiment, this lesson, this opportunity for us to see and to grasp it with Lazarus first, and then he made his way after that into Jerusalem. And the story tells us that he entered in through the eastern gate into the city on the back of a donkey. And what is so rich in allegory around that is that many things that you read about Jesus riding on the back of the donkey was that he had dominion over this animal. And so, guess what dominion actually means? I don't know if you're familiar with that word, but that's going to be one of the main words for this morning is dominion. So in Hebrew, the actual term to have dominion. Let me make sure I get this right because this is so great. So the words have dominion in Hebrew translate literally mean to rule by going down and walking among the subjects as an equal. I bet you didn't know that. I bet that might be new information to you. That when you think of the word dominion, it's like something ruling over. You could almost see a visual of hovering above. But in Hebrew, to have dominion means to have an awareness, a mindset, a consciousness that you go into, you come down and walk among the subjects as an equal, and you rule in this manner, not as a dictator, but as a benevolent leader. or an example. So when Jesus rode on the back of the donkey and he had dominion over the animal kingdom, just like in Genesis it said in the creation story that humankind had dominion over the animals, the fishes, and the birds. It wasn't about ruling over them in a demonstrative way, in a dictatorial way. It was to come and to integrate and to be benevolent among them. And so Jesus is exemplifying this by aligning with the simplicity, the basicness of riding in on a donkey through the eastern gate of Jerusalem, having dominion, having dominion in that moment, meaning he is coming down as an equal to show benevolence. The eastern gate. So in Jerusalem at that time, there were many gates that entered into the city. The eastern gate was known as the Golden Gate or the Gate of Mercy. So again, all of this incredible, rich symbology. So here is this consciousness contained, this self-actualization within this beautiful being known as Jesus, who just gave us an example of eternal life and the dominion by declaring to rise. And then here he is in humble fashion, riding in on the back of the donkey through a gate of mercy and showing it's almost like to be in the world but not of it. We've said that many times. And so he isn't saying, oh, look at how great I am, and distancing himself from a place of ego, which is interesting because just as he was entering in through the eastern gate of Jerusalem, so was Pontius Pilate, who plays a pivotal role, as you understand, in Holy Week. But he was coming through a different gate into the city, and his entrance was with chariots and soldiers and fanfare. And Jesus was just riding in on the back of a donkey, very unassuming. So look at all of that. Okay, so we have him already showing us the power to rise above that which is seemingly dead, to create dominion, which means that we're not going to run away from anything. We're not going to try to rule over it or beat it down or domesticate it. We're going to integrate ourselves because we have an awareness of the eternality of all of life, that we are a part of the eternality of life. There is nothing to fear. So I can come down and I can integrate into the world, and I can be the example of a benevolent leader. And I can do this by entering in through gates of mercy. Do you see how beautiful this is when you really want to sit with it and see the template for the example that it offers us to be the same way? Remember in Scripture that Jesus would always say things like, please do not look at me or view me as greater than. Great things have I done, aka raising Lazarus from the dead, but greater things shall ye do. What? Do you see the potency of that? That he's saying, I am not an exception, I am an example. And what do you and I then have afforded us by an example? We can either take it and exercise it and play with it and try to embody the example, or we can observe it and say, oh, we can never live up to that, or judge ourselves. But that's not what an example is. A template, an embodiment that says, this is what you and I are capable of. To practice being in the declarative, to rise, to look at something that is seemingly dead, whatever that is in your life, and to command it to rise. In other words, to show the life that is in it, to show the inspiration and the value that is in it. Whether that is something as nebulous as your self-esteem or it's your creative practice. Whatever it is, you look at it and you say, rise, show yourself. And you bring that awareness humbly through having dominions, through walking into the seeming effect of the day to day, to come down. What does it say? To rule by coming down and walking among the subjects, to walking among the effect of the world. And not saying I'm better than, not trying to be some falsification of a dictator, but by leading through benevolence and love. And each time we do that, we enter into through this gate of mercy by being willing to be an example for ourselves. And then what's so amazing in the story, the Palm Sunday story, is that when he came through the gate in this humble fashion, people went crazy. The people that happened to be at the eastern gate had these palm fronds. You know, they were waving these palm fronds as an act of adulation, as a representation of peace, and they were yelling in jubilance, and they were saying, calling him a king. They were calling him a savior. They were just in full adulation. You know, kind of imagine walking into an arena, walking onto a stadium, walking into anything, and having the crowd just be in this deafening roar of praise. But then here's the amazing thing about that. Let's say that nothing surprises someone who is self-actualized, meaning that they already know, they already can forecast and see the outcome. So let's say that Jesus, riding on the donkey through the eastern gate, already knew there would be praise and knew that the same people who were praising would turn within a week and be the ones who would participate in the seeming betrayal that leads to the crucifixion. Isn't that amazing? And so if the self-actualization knows that, it knows the ebb and the flow, the fickle nature of what he is participating in dominion of, he still does it. He still does it because why? He knows that life is eternal, that death is a human construct. Again, think of this metaphorically and allegorically so that you can pinpoint it into your life. So what does that mean? It means that we will do these things. We will practice being in the world and not of it. And there will be times when we will experience high praise, and people will respond in a seemingly positive manner, or they will say things to our face, and yet very quickly turn. You know, we have a word for that. It's called fickle. We can see the fickle nature of the baseness, the animalistic part of being human. And yet still even realizing that that is a principle of rhythm, that there is an ebb and a flow, the flow of praise and the ebb of the turning of the tide in the experience of the fickle nature of our ego. And yet we still do it. We will still enter through the gate with mercy. We will still integrate. We will have dominion with all of that, and we will do it from an energy of benevolence. And so I believe in this beautiful story that Jesus knew the inevitability of what was going to happen. And so that means that the praise, the external adulation, in no way affected or activated this sort of egoic nature. It just was a part of the experience. Just as the turning and the condemnation is a part of the experience. And if that then is the case, then you start to understand the wisdom of the cycle of birth and death, the crucifixion and the resurrection. So in other words, you can't have a resurrection without a crucifixion. What does that mean for you? It means that we cannot command things to rise unless first something appears to die or we let die. So it isn't necessarily the literal story of Lazarus in his human form, but it means that sometimes there are dreams and aspirations and ideas and fixated things that we get locked into that sometimes need to have their own form of crucifixion in order for us to remove our tight grip on them, to allow those specifics to have their own death, if you will, so that something beyond that can rise, can have its resurrection. And when you look at the potency of that in the application that Jesus has with regards to this Holy Week story, then we're not walking wounded. We're not trying to build a life preserving ourselves or protecting ourselves from the fickle world. No, we continue to have dominion, which means, remember the story, we continue to have dominion, to practice dominion, means we continue to come and put ourselves into the vulnerability, to open our hearts, even to what we may know might be the fickleness of life. We still do it, not because we're stupid, not because we're gluttons for punishment, but because we have a knowing. We have a knowing and a commandment of consciousness, a Christic consciousness that tells us that the only reality is the eternality of life. That's the story. And so Palm Sunday is just sort of the preparation of that, watching the actions that lead up into a story that has transfixed and transformed people for multiple generations. And so what's kind of an interesting way to look at something in what we would term fickle is that it's an opportunity for alchemy. What does the word alchemy mean? Alchemy means to take something base. So an alchemist in medieval lore was a chemist, a scientist, a wizard who would take a base metal and transform that base metal into gold. So to be a spiritual alchemist is to take a base thought and actually to come and have dominion with the base thought, so that the base thought through benevolence is transformed into gold. See, that's why this thing called dominion is so exciting. To have dominion doesn't mean that I'm better than. It means I come down and I share consciousness in a way that that which is around me feels it. I share consciousness. I live from consciousness in a way that even the most seemingly mundane transactions day to day are transformed through the benevolence of that dominion, of that declarative action, of the entrance of mercy into every encounter that we have. Every encounter that we have. So this Holy Week, how can you, how can I, how can we be the Christ? How can we enter in through the eastern gate of relationships, the golden gate, the gate of mercy? How can we do this deliberately, consciously? How can we take the just overwhelmingly seemingly gross effect of our inhumanity towards one another and come down, and instead of just talking at it or distancing ourselves or vacationing from it, we look at it and we come down and we have dominion with it. And we declare the truth of it, the life of it to rise. without fear, without doubt of our value in these things. You know, I live in Georgia, and I just, when you read what the state government is doing to deliberately oppress the vote for people of color, for for just the most vulnerable of our population, that they actually do this deliberately to keep someone from having the right to vote. And these laws are getting passed. What do you do with that information? How do you participate in that? Well, if if I forgot all the things that we talked about today, then I would want to perhaps distance myself or fight against it rather than having dominion with it, rather than going back to what Jesus did and to declare that the truth of this vote, the truth of this governmental action rise. What does that look like? That means that every single time we read something and we enter into disgust, that we don't stay there, but that we go into our Christic model, our self-actualization, and we declare in that moment that thing, that truth rise. We enter in through the gates of mercy, and through having dominion, we participate in local legislation. We go and we advocate and we do things to support everyone, bringing a benevolence. What was it? To have dominion was to come down within the area of the subjects as a benevolent leader. Are you and I willing to do that in these world of effect? And whatever it is then that you are trying to distance yourself from, or to try to fight or rule over, allow this Holy Week to soften that and to practice that Hebrew understanding of having dominion, to come and to be benevolence. But at the same time, you can have a soft heart and a powerful declaration. At the same time, you can have a soft heart, a powerful declaration, and enter into all things with mercy. Wow. You can have your own Holy Week. You can do all of this. And so, let's let this Easter week, this Holy Week, this divine spring energy, allow it to motivate you in a way that is fresh. Allow yourself to be humbled enough to practice declaring something that you have labeled as dead, that you have allowed age or circumstance or opinion to be oppressed and to be darkened or to be tucked away, to bring it back to life. And saying and declaring that the highest and best of that thing rise. Rise from this dead. If it's your heart that has become deadened, tell the heart to rise. If it is your faith that has become deadened, tell your faith to rise. If it is your trust, if it is your wellness, your prosperity, your flow, whatever it is, look at it, and instead of approaching it from an aggressive energy, come down with it. Have dominion over it. Remember who you are. You are that directive vessel of the divine. Great things have I done, said this amazing teacher, Jesus, but greater things will you do. This is your Holy Week, and it's time that you and I, it is time that you and I get to the business of doing those greater things. So, I wish you great, great love and great comfort and great inspiration and great synchronicity and all of the things that will continue to be the wind in your wings, to be the buoy that lifts you up so that you can remember this. Thank you again for your support. Thank you for being here. In the description, there is a way that you can participate in this ever evolving, amazing opportunity of ministry. There are ways that you can donate or become an active member. We've got so many beautiful plans for what it is that we want to offer and to travel as the world continues to open up. Thank you. Thank you for participating. Um, Thank you for giving. And also, too, if you want to enroll in the next Wisdom School, that is going to be on April the 10th. The link for that registration is there. Now go and be powerful. Walk as the holy do, and know that you have dominion, wisdom, mercy, and alchemy within you. God bless.